What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this Weedeater brand blower, and the problem is that it was given to me by a friend and I don't know if it runs. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this blower. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. From what I've been told, this blower hasn't been used in a very long time, and unfortunately that's one of the worst things you can do to a 2-cycle engine aside from putting straight gas in the tank. Now the biggest problem is fuel in the tank, the lines in the carburetor can turn into sludge, or worse yet, a sticky varnish. The first thing I want to do is check whether or not the engine is worn out, and the easiest way is to slowly pull on the rope and feel how much the engine is fighting back. The more the engine fights back, the healthier it is. Well, the recoil is kind of sticky, but it does work. We may have to look at it if we get the blower working again. Now, the engine is fighting back quite a bit, but with the recoil issues, it might be the recoil that I'm fighting with and not the engine. To get a better gauge on the health of the engine, I'm going to use a compression tester. Now, you can find these at your local auto parts store or online for about $15. Just install it in the spark plug hole and pull the rope several times. We want to see a reading over 150 psi. If it's less than 100, we may have a worn out engine. So the reading is about 135 psi, and that means this engine is only slightly worn, but it should have more than enough compression to run. Now the next thing I want to do is remove the carburetor and inspect it for any problems. The first thing I noticed on this engine was the black rubber primer bulb, which is absolutely rock hard, so we'll definitely need to change it. What's also interesting is that the return line is on the top port of the carburetor, and it's a smaller line compared to the fuel filter line, which is the larger line. After taking the pumping side of the carburetor off, we can now see the internal screen. Now there's some debris on the screen, but it's not that bad. If yours is covered in debris, then you might want to check that the fuel filter is still connected to the fuel line in the tank. I'll clean it with carburetor cleaner after I move the needle and rocker arm assembly. The next thing I want to do is inspect the pumping diaphragm. What we need to check here is that these two check valve flaps are flat and parallel with the rest of the diaphragm. The easiest way is to look at it from the side. This one looks fine, so I'll reuse it. If yours isn't, then you might want to consider buying a rebuild kit. I don't think this primer bulb is the type that's meant to come in contact with fuel. I think it's for some other carburetor where the primer bulb is meant to push air into the carburetor and force gas into the carburetor's throat instead. The clear version is meant to come in contact with fuel, so it'll last longer than regular rubber. The next thing I want to do is check the metering diaphragm that's under this plate. I want to make sure it's still pliable and doesn't have any wrinkles in it, and unfortunately it's completely petrified and will no longer regulate fuel flow through the carburetor like it's supposed to, so we'll need to replace it. It's so bad that I can't peel it off the gasket, so I'll have to tear it apart to get it off. After that, I'll remove the needle and rocker arm assembly. Now just be careful, as the parts are easy to lose, especially the spring. If you lose the spring, you might as well buy a replacement carburetor. While cleaning the screen, I want to see the carburetor cleaner fill the pocket and then disappear through the screen. That means that fuel will also flow through the screen as well. Just to be sure, I'll do the same test with fuel. Now ours seems to be flowing through very well, so I'll spray the other side of the carburetor down and start putting it back together. Unfortunately, while reassembling the carburetor, the metering diaphragm's gasket broke, so I'll have to replace it with one from a spare carburetor. Now, I don't think you can buy just the gasket, so in reality, if this happened to you, you might have to buy a rebuild kit instead. Another reason why this blower might not be starting is that there isn't any spark. You can check the ignition by using a spark checker or by removing the spark plug, putting it back on the wire, and then grounding the metal part of the plug, and then pulling the rope. You should see some spark at the tip of the plug. I didn't show it, but I did confirm that we had spark before I started this repair. Now on this particular model, if you needed to replace the ignition coil, you need to completely tear down this machine, which isn't tough, but it takes a long time. Next, we need to replace the old fuel lines, and as you can see, the fuel lines have hardened, and more than likely it's from using gas that has ethanol in it. Now after taking the fuel filter out of the tank, I think we can save it. It's not corroded, and we just need to clean off some of the old varnish. It's not perfect, but it looks a lot better, and I did confirm that air will flow through the stone. The next thing we need to do is run new fuel lines, and I'll be using two different sizes. One will be 3/16 of an inch, while the other is 140 thousandths of an inch. The line I'll be using is Tigon line, which I hate to say is much more expensive than clear line, but hopefully it should last a lot longer. Now the first line I'll run will be the filter line, and I'll be using the larger fuel line. Now some people have told me that the smaller line should be the fuel line instead, but in reality it doesn't matter. I've done it both ways and I haven't seen any problems yet. Now being able to reuse the filter not only saved us about $1, but more importantly it saved us time. As for the return line, I usually push about ½ inch to 1 inch into the tank, but you can push as much as you want. We just need to make sure that it doesn't come out of the tank. So the fuel line goes to the bottom port on the carburetor, while the return line goes to the top port. If you get these lines switched, the engine will still run, but the carburetor will get clogged and the engine will stop. You'll have to clean the internal screen to get it working again. When priming the fuel system, fuel should flow from the tank through the filter line, then it'll fill up the primer bulb, and then it should flow back to the tank through the return line. You can see just how much old fuel was still in the passages in the carburetor as it fills up the primer bulb. Now press it a few more times and it should clear up. The fuel is flowing through the lines like it's supposed to, so I'll install the carburetor back onto the engine. If you see fuel come up through the return line first, stop pressing the primer bulb and then swap the lines. Then continue pressing the primer bulb and it should come through the filter line first. So what just happened? Well, the engine tried to start in the full choke position and ran in the half position. However, after moving it to the run position, it wanted to die. That shows me that the engine is starved for fuel, so I'm going to adjust the carburetor to deliver more fuel to the engine. So the adjustment screws are on the front of the carburetor, but to turn them, you'll need a special tool. In this case, you'll need the splined version. Now you can buy these individually or as a kit for about $10 to $15. Now the screw closer to the engine is the L screw. It is for low engine speed fuel adjustment, while the screw closer to the air filter is the H screw, and it's for high engine speed fuel adjustment. So since I'm pretty sure the engine needs more fuel, I'll start by turning both the L and the H screw counterclockwise about a quarter turn, then I'll start it again and hopefully it'll stay running this time. So after I got the engine to stay running in the run position, I then moved the red throttle lever to the wide open position, but there wasn't much change, so I needed to adjust the H screw till I found max engine speed, and then I turned the H screw counterclockwise just a bit so the engine runs cooler and won't overheat. It's a good idea to let the engine cool down and then try another cold start, and don't be surprised if you need to do some more fine tuning. So how much time and money did I spend on this repair? Well, the primer bulb was purchased in bulk, and for just one of them, it was 10 cents. The metering diaphragm was also bought in bulk, and just one of them was $1. And I used about 1 foot of Tygon line, so that was about $2. So the grand total was $3.10, and it took me 1 hour to do the repair. So my question is, if someone asked you if you wanted a free blower not knowing if it worked or not, and they told you it was a Weedeater brand, would you say yes or no? Or are these blowers even worth your time? Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video.